You're listening to the Ugly Truth Podcast with George and Christina Markoski, your weekly injection of science, insights, and myth-busting. For awesome info and trending content, go to georgemarkoski.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Ugly Truth.
Welcome back.
And now today we're going to talk about
Time,
that's right.
Got a bit of time on our hands to talk about time.
That's right. So there was a philosopher called James Christian, and he explained time like this. He said that time is like a saddleback that you're sitting on between the past and the future, and you look in both directions. Because think about this. Now, you've just missed it. Think about now again. You've missed it again. So where are we really living in? Because we don't live in the past. We don't live in the future.
We live in the present, don't we?
We live in the present, in the now, but the now changes constantly.
Yeah, of course it does.
Because just a second ago, we were introducing this podcast, and that's the past. We can remember that, but we can't remember the future. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating how the past is something you can remember and recall, and the future is something you create.
True.
So we've got different powers, because you can't change the past, but you can change the future.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So philosophically, like Einstein, for example, now Einstein, he doesn't believe that time actually exists. And I'm going to explain that in a minute.
That's a very interesting concept.
Because I'd like to get your take on that, because that's going to be interesting. So let me explain how it happened. So what happened was that Einstein, what he did, he sort of discovered the theory of relativity. Right. And when he discovered that with the equations, what he discovered is time actually isn't constant. See, Isaac Newton, when he formulated Mathematica Principia, one of the most famous books ever in history, what happened was when he formulated that, he, you heard the story when he was sitting under a tree and an apple fell on his head and he discovered gravity, and he formulated all these great formulations on how the planets move around and why they move. And he saw the world or the universe as a great big clockwork and gears. And he said, well, if you knew everything at one stage, you could predict the future. And he sort of thought there was a universal clock. So basically, there was a clock ticking somewhere in the universe, and everywhere in the universe was the same time.
That's very strange to think that, yeah.
No, I thought that's very intuitive. I thought that myself.
Okay.
Well, I thought, the time for me is the same as the time for you and everyone else. But then Einstein discovered that time is not the same for everyone. It's actually very different.
Yeah, and it's all about perception, obviously.
It's not about perception. Time actually speeds up and slows down.
Right.
So, for example, I could look at one event, right? And an observer can look at it from a different angle, and that event would be different.
Might be faster or slower for that person.
Might be faster and slower. Let me try to explain it in a different way.
Because is that like saying, time flies when you're having fun?
I've actually...
but when you're bored, it's like going really slow at snail pace.
Time actually flies when you fly. That's the funny thing. So the faster you go, right, the slower time goes.
Yes, I know that.
Yes.
You can slow down time.
You can slow down time, or time slows down as a principle.
Yeah.
So, for example, basically time and space are interlocked in the same thing. So it's called space-time.
Is that like saying you could go to a different planet and the time on Earth would have passed differently by the time you get back?
Okay, so for example, if you and I were travelling, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you were on Earth and I was going to go to another planet and that was a long way away, and I was going near the speed of light. Mm-hmm. What would happen is, as I was travelling towards that, my time would slow right down.
Yeah.
So I'd come back after so even though for you it looked like it took me 10 years to get there, for me it only feel like 1 year. So I'd come back and you'd be 20 years older. We'd be the same age. What an idea.
Or if I could go to space.
You'd be even younger than me.
Yeah.
Which you are anyway. So what he found was space and time are actually interlocked, and they call it space-time.
Is that like the space-time continuum?
I don't know, but maybe yes. So basically,
I don't know what that is. I've just heard it.
So what happens is time slows down when you've got immense gravity around it. So if you go to a black hole and you were near a black hole, time would stop in a black hole. There's no time in a black hole. Completely stops completely. Right?
Has anyone ever been in a black hole to confirm that
no
theory?
one's been in the black hole, right?
How do they know?
But we have confirmed Einstein's theory, because what happened was everyone that uses GPS, so the satellites up in space, because they're further away from the Earth and they're going faster, the time actually is different, and because of that, you need to time dilation to use that.
Okay.
So what happened was there was a guy called Edward Hubble. He's the guy that discovered that the universe is expanding, because this is how we found out all about this whole time thing. And I don't know if everyone's heard of the Doppler effect. If you hear a train, if you're standing at a train station and you hear a train approaching you, or even a siren's a better thing. You know, if you've got a siren and it approaches you, and what happens is as it approaches you, the sound changes, and when it goes away, it changes.
Yeah. When it gets closer, it's louder. Obviously, when it's further away, it's softer.
No. The actual frequency of the wavelength changes because of the Doppler effect.
Okay.
So through that, Edward Hubble, he was searching the galaxies and discovered that stars were actually moving away from us. And the way I discovered that is you look at the spectrum, and you've got, like the spectrum is from ultraviolet all the way through to red. And then you've got radio waves and things on this side and cosmic rays on that side. So red is actually a larger wavelength and blue is a smaller wavelength. Now, what happens with stars when you look at their spectrum is they've got a red shift. And through the red shift, you can see how fast they're moving away from us.
But if it's blue, they're moving towards us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
So, for example, if an ambulance has got a higher pitch, it's moving towards you. A lower pitch is moving away from you when you listen to it. So by doing that, what they did is they extrapolated the universe and went all the way back to a single point. That's how they discovered the Big Bang Theory, because the Big Bang Theory was a bit of a joke when it first started, when people called it the Big Bang Theory, but it stuck. Right. And the universe is actually 13.7 billion years old.
That's pretty precise.
I know. So pretty old, right?
And they measured it through this light?
They measured it through supernovas.
Right.
A supernova is when a star explodes. So basically, a supernova, a certain type of supernova has got the same brightness every single time. And because of that, they called it a standard candle, and it doesn't matter how far a galaxy was away, you could measure the distance through that. Mm-hmm. That's how they did it.
Okay, interesting.
So, just to give you a bit of a frame, 13.7 billion years old. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old.
Ah, so the universe has obviously been around longer than the Earth.
Well, you'd expect that. Otherwise, it would be a bit of a problem. Now, our Earth has been recycled. So
has it blown up and regenerated?
Basically, we've got heavy elements, and to create heavy elements, you need a second or third generation star, not a first generation star, to do that. Right. So our star's actually a second generation star as well.
How did they know that? Because
of the heavy elements on here. It's amazing what they find out. So our Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and humans only diverged from our ape-like ancestors 6 million years ago. So 6 million years ago, we had a common ancestor to bonobo and the chimp. And then we diverged about 6 million years ago. And modern humans in our current form are about 100,000 years old.
Right.
So if you got a human 100,000 years ago and brought him here, he would have the same brain, same everything as what we've got.
Same biology.
Yeah, same biology, because we haven't really evolved that much in that 100,000 years, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
Right? So, which is fascinating when you think about it. So out of the 4.5 billion years, if you were to look at that as a clock, humans have been on this earth for about 1 second out of 24 hours.
Right.
Yes, we've been on this earth hardly anything at all. Dinosaurs were here for hundreds of millions of years, you know what I mean? Yeah.
What's an animal that's been around a lot longer than us that still exists.
Okay, let's say a crocodile.
Yeah.
Crocodiles, they're about, and I'm guessing here, about 300 million years old. And they're still the same. Very
Wow.
similar to what they
Yeah,
are.
they
They've
haven't
hardly
changed
changed at all.
much.
Sharks also. So, for example, if you look at a salmon, humans are more closely related to a salmon than what we are to sharks,
That's amazing.
than what they are to sharks.
Right.
That's how old sharks are compared to salmon.
Yeah.
Yes. So time is a fascinating thing, and what fascinates about time is, I guess, we've got a limited time at this point in time,
Yeah.
and I wanted to go through this exercise about, the average human here in Australia, the average person lives to about 82 years. Mm-hmm. So let's round it off at 90 because we're living
People
longer.
are living longer these
We're
days.
living
yeah.
longer, exactly.
I think
exactly.
that data is a little bit outdated.
Yeah. So if you were to look at an example, this bowl here has got 90 gold chocolate coins.
So that represents life. This represents
Yeah,
time.
so that's each year. So when you think about it, you're 1 year old, that's 1 year. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's when you're 10. And you've still got this much life.
See how empty the bowl is.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, and as you go along, so you can see that, it's pretty fascinating when you think about it. And if you do this exercise for yourself, you can see how many coins you've got left.
That is scary, yeah.
That is scary. It is. The thing is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but have you noticed that every year seems to go faster?
I have, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I've got a theory about that. And my theory is, when you're 1 year old, right?
You've got
1
your whole
year-
life ahead of you.
Well, you've got your whole life ahead of you, yes,
Yeah.
but you've got 1 year of experience. So 1 year is your whole memories. So when you're 2, that's a long time. Mm-hmm. When you're 10, it's only 10% of your memories. So obviously it goes faster because 1 year is only 10% of your memories.
Right.
So when you're 50, it's 1/50th of your memories. So obviously it's going to go quicker. That's why it goes quicker, I think.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
an interesting theory.
That's my theory. But anyway, then as we go along,
Time going by.
and that's a human life.
That's
of
your life.
90 years.
It's amazing.
Like, when you think about it, it's pretty scary because, there's not a lot of coins there.
I know.
Like,
Time is the most valuable resource we have in the world because once it's gone, you can't get it back.
yeah, see,
And, people value money and materialistic things, but really, time is more valuable than anything in the world.
At this point in time is the only resources that is non-renewable. You can always get
That's
more money.
right, yeah.
You can get more everything, but you can't
Exactly.
get more time. Now, you sort of get more time. Let's say, for example, you live a healthy lifestyle and you're careful, then you're sort of getting more time by having
True,
a healthy
yeah.
lifestyle. However, still, it's the one resource, the most important resource we really need to know how to use properly.
Totally. And that's why I guess you have to value your time and really be mindful of it. And just remember that obviously the coins, they're going in the bowl every year. And
I mean, you might as well use your time wisely. You know what I mean? I mean, people are
Absolutely.
careful with their money, but really, you've got to be really careful with your time and what you spend it on, because, what you do on a regular basis creates who you are,
yeah, that's right.
you?
What gets me about time also is the concept of the days of the week and the time in the day, the 24 hours. That's all man-made, obviously.
Of course it is, but it comes in handy because the Earth spins around
Yeah.
in just under 24 hours and it goes around the sun in
So,
365 days.
Did the ancient Romans invent the calendars system?
Okay. There was a pope called Julian who had the Julian calendar.
Right.
And then it got replaced with a Gregorian calendar back in the 1500s, 1527 actually. Now, what happened in 1527, that was the average. Each country changed at a different time. But to change from the Julian calendar to Gregorian calendar, they had to just chop 10 days out. So
So what did it used to be? The
it was just slightly different because we had a leap year, the Gregorian calendar. It's much more accurate
right.
because the leap year comes in handy because that's why we've got, February being the leap year every 4 years. We've got to make up because the Earth doesn't take 365 days to go around. It takes 365 days in the quarter. So what has to happen is that's why we've got a leap year in there.
Yeah.
So what they did is they chopped 10 days. And those 10 days, no one was born in those 10 days because they don't exist. Isn't that interesting? Right? Is that crazy or what?
That is crazy, yeah.
It is crazy.
That we can manufacture the concept of counting time that way.
Yes, well, that's right. And the thing is, time, back in the agricultural days before the Industrial Revolution, people didn't really have watches or anything.
Yeah.
And they used to just get up when the sun went up and work and do everything else like that. And part of the reason school came out, because before that it was all apprenticeships. So for example, you know, if my father was a blacksmith, my uncle was a blacksmith,
and they're passed down through the generations.
My other uncle was something else. I had two choices. I could be a blacksmith or my other uncle was a sheep herder. That's it, right? That was the choices I had because you become an apprentice. Or you could join the clergy and learn how to read and write and things like that. But you were very limited to where you could travel, because as a peasant you couldn't travel very far, and there wasn't many occupation choices.
Yeah.
And time was not really... it's funny enough, people in those days had a lot more time in their hands because they didn't have a clock, they didn't have to rush. They took their time, they were very relaxed, funny enough.
Yeah, I guess they didn't measure it as much as we do.
They didn't measure it at all.
So we've got clocks on our iPhones these days. Constantly, our days are just getting busier and busier.
They didn't measure time at all because they didn't have a watch.
Yeah.
Right? Because before that, to have a watch was very expensive, and they used to have the pocket watches, and it was quite fashionable if you had money to have a little pocket watch.
Yeah, like
or
a sign of wealth.
And you had a little chain on it to make sure you didn't lose it. It was worth a lot of money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like the Monopoly man and his little monocle in his pocket watch. And the thing is, though, once the Industrial Revolution came around, they needed people to actually be able to get to work on time, because if you got if you got a factory and you got because what they discovered was, let's say you're making an object, making a pin, and it takes one person 1 day to make it because he has to first do one thing, then the other thing, then the other thing. But if you divided that job into 10 different jobs and each person just focused on one thing only, you could up the production by quite a bit. Right?
Yeah.
Which made a huge difference.
So us being a capitalist society, we have to really measure time and keep an eye on it, because time equals money.
Well, what happened was, you can't have a factory line of 9 people there and one person not there.
Yeah.
See, with the farming and agriculture, it was different. If someone rocked up a little bit late, it didn't matter at all. But with factories and everything, it was very important to get people on time. So what they did is they started putting people in school instead of apprenticeships. And they'd have the bell, and you'd start at a certain time, and then you'd have recess, and you'd have lunch, and you'd finish school at 3:15 when people finished in factories, and start at 9.
So basically, school was conditioning people.
School was there to condition people for
the
time.
work life. Yeah,
that's right. They needed to condition people because peasants used to wander off or rock up, right? And you couldn't have that.
Yeah,
you know, it's a bit like you know, here in modern Australia. I mean, we've still got the Indigenous people, the Aboriginals, who've still got a different sense of time.
Don't really get the concept of time.
Well, I've heard stories of where they're in a job and suddenly they just go walk about and they disappear for a period of time. And no one knows where they are or what happened, because that's what they do. It's part of their culture.
I've heard of stories like that as well, yeah.
Because they've been conditioned, and I think...
it's a bit like if you've ever been to Fiji. They have 2 types of times. They've got Fiji time and they've got Aussie time.
That's right.
And Aussie time is actually, you know, bring back the towels at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock on time. Fiji time could be 5 o'clock or it could be 7 or 8. Nobody knows.
It's very different. And it's amazing how here in the Western world our view of time is different. See, when I went back, because my parents come from Macedonia, and I went back there, and I've been there quite a few times now. And I went back there and my cousins go, come over for dinner. I go, what time? They go, doesn't matter, just come over. And for me, it's like,
you want to plan out your day.
I want to know what time I have to go for dinner. But they are saying, just come over whenever. It doesn't matter.
How could you live like that? Like, do they just hang around the house all day and they don't really care?
There's something beautiful about the way they live, though, because when I was there, it took me a while.
Very chillaxed.
Took me a while to get into it, but
Yeah.
I was fascinated. It's changed a bit now slightly, but I was fascinated that, I had to post some postcards off, and I went to the post office and it was closed because it was siesta time.
Right. Wow.
So, because
Yeah.
people just closed and that was it, right? And in the middle of the day, they just closed for 2 hours and go for sleep.
So unproductive.
But what a lifestyle though. Because I'd walk down the mall, and this is the old ancient city of Auckland, which is 1,200 years old, and there's still old cobblestones from over 1,000 years ago. You walk down there, there'd be some cafes, and you'd go, oh, how you going? And sit down, and then you go to another cafe and sit down, and before you know it, the whole day's gone. You've been very chillaxed. Took me a long time to get into it, take me a few days, but once I get into that mode, it's so relaxing. Then I get back to Australia and it's like, go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows who's got it right? You know what I mean? Because you've got different societies differently, but the capitalist way of thinking and the Western world is all about time and being on time, and time is money and being a rush.
I guess that's why the Western world is more prosperous. Obviously, they make more money as a country because they've really got it down pat with training people in school, with being on time,
And getting people productive. You look at the Japanese, they're up early, say early bird catches the worm, crack of dawn. And I mean, and they've got this thing, I don't know what it's called, but people actually work themselves to death and die.
Wow.
I saw a documentary on it. So, we've got this whole 40-hour work week and everything else like that. And
most people have 2 jobs these days as well. So everyone's swapping their time for money.
That's right. And you know what? I don't think it's a very fair deal.
No.
I think I'd rather have time than money, personally, because that's a much better resource. And the thing is, we've grown up in Australia in this sort of system, so I guess I'm very time conscious. And I've only recently taken up meditation, and I found meditation to really, give me that time, because it's 10 minutes a day. And even 10 minutes a day is hard.
It's hard to fit in. Very hard.
Now, that's just crazy when you think about it. Why?
I guess that's why a lot of people struggle, with fitting in time to work out, time to eat healthy. I mean, everything takes time, bit by bit, out of your day. So it does take effort to be conscious of that time and use it to the best of your ability.
Exactly. And the thing is, you've got all these new ways of doing things, getting things done, and how to be more productive, how to squeeze more out and everything else like that. And I don't know if it's very helpful, because, there's a thing called multitasking. I don't believe in multitasking. I think it's just stupid, because I think you're better off focusing on one task at a time.
And being good at it.
Multitasking is not really true. All it is switching gears over and over.
Yeah.
And you're much more productive by batching things out and doing one thing and then doing another thing.
Yeah.
Thinking that you can multitask, it's not true.
What I really like the concept of is outsourcing. And I find that is helping my productivity and my time as well. Because if you learn how to outsource, you can leverage your time a lot better and spend time doing what's more important, what's going to fulfill your life and your goals better.
Absolutely. And look, the author of the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a genius. He's really good. And when I met him and had dinner with him, he was sort of saying to me, well, you got to work more than 4 hours. But what he meant by the 4-hour work week is you do 4 hours of what you don't want to do,
right,
what you have to do, but you still got to get your passion and do something really cool. You know what I mean? And I agree with that, because doing nothing is not really that good. It's not fulfilling.
Yeah,
as human beings,
we
need to be fulfilled. And
I like that concept of the 4-hour work week, because you want to obviously spend your time doing what you love and doing your passion.
Like podcasting for me, this is fun. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this, and I love being able to give good content for people, and hopefully, you guys enjoy it. I'm enjoying it, which is a good start.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I've been in business for a long time, and I've tried a lot of different systems of being organised and having to-do lists and trying to be productive and squeezing every moment out. And I've had enough of that. And I guess when I'd retired at 37, that's what I'd had totally enough of it. And I went complete opposite. And now I'm back into...
You would have had a lot of time when you retired, though.
Yeah, I did.
A lot of time on your hands.
Absolutely. I had a lot of time because I was retired. I could do whatever I wanted to do. It was pretty cool. It was great. I got to do some pretty cool stuff. And now I've got a much better balance because I don't think doing nothing's the key either.
Yeah.
Right? But at the time I was working too much. I had too many staff members, too much stuff. So instead of trying to be more productive, what I'm doing now is being more selective because I'd rather create great work and do something I'm passionate about and I love and doing a really good job of it than just ticking things off my to-do list and just for the sake of it.
Yeah, see, a lot of people, I guess, aspire to retirement.
Yes, they do.
Which there's nothing wrong with it.
But
what's your goal once you get there, I guess? You've got to keep that in mind and not just think about the end game because you've got to live in the moment.
Well, now is where we're at. See, it's interesting. I've got this old friend who he wanted to retire when he was younger. And he used to work as a supervisor in a factory and 70 hours a week.
Wow.
And any spare time he had, he'd renovate his house. He wouldn't go out and socialise with all the rest of us because he didn't want to spend money. He wanted to save it all for his future. And it was pretty crazy.
It's like, but when do you get to your future? Do you know what I mean?
Well, your future's not here.
Before you know it, you're already gone.
Well, exactly. The thing is, when I was in primary school, one of my friends at school, her father, he came from Greece and he opened up a fish and chip shop. And what he used to do, he used to wake up at 4 a.m. and used to hand peel all the potatoes.
Right.
And you'd get your hands wet and it's really not a very nice thing to do.
Quite labour-intensive
Very
job.
labour-intensive, but it was cheaper than buying them pre-cut. So he did that to save money.
So he was trading his time for money.
So he used to get there really early, get everything prepared, work all day, then afterwards do all the work. And he worked and worked and he was buying houses and working and working and working and working for one day to retire. And then he died.
Wow, that is a sad story.
And he didn't even go back to his home country for a holiday. Didn't have any holidays at all because he wasn't ready yet. He just kept going. You know what I mean? And that really, because a lot of people think they don't have time, but you need to make the time in that area of your life to actually enjoy it as well and live it, because the destination is just one thing. It's a bit like you look at Olympic athletes. A lot of them work really hard to get to that gold medal.
Yeah.
And once they get it, they're depressed because
I've heard that,
that's it. So the funny thing is, the most important part is the actual journey.
Yeah, I guess there's nothing wrong with planning for the future also.
I love big goals. I love them. I've got
to
massive
obviously
goals.
have the right balance. You can't plan so much and be thinking, you know, oh, I'm going to do this when I get to this point in my life and I'm going to do that. What you've got to keep in mind is having the right balance.
This is all we got, right?
Yeah,
at this stage until
exactly.
we have more radical life extension, which is coming soon, hopefully. The thing is, though, my philosophy is, I really believe this. I believe that the key is the journey. That's the most important thing ever. And you need to enjoy and embrace the journey and do what you really love. Because there's no point having a goal in 20 years to do something you love. I want to tell a story about this, which is interesting.
Okay.
There was this executive in America, right? And he was quite successful. He went on a bit of a holiday in Mexico. And he went to Mexico and he took this little tour with this guy. There was a fishing guy there that used to go fishing. And this guy used to go and catch a few fish and sell them at the market and have a siesta and relax and have a pretty good life. And he goes to him, look, you know, what you could do is you could probably, if you did a few more hours, you could probably get more fish, make more money, buy a bigger boat, get even more fish, hire some people, and then you could get more boats and create this whole cannery and make lots of money and everything else like that. You know, if you worked hard enough, you could be loaded, right?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, what for? And he goes, well, then you can retire. He goes, well, then I'll be doing what I'm doing now. So why not just, right?
So that is exactly how he wanted to spend his time.
So he just went out for a few hours, caught some fish, and spent his time exactly the way he wanted to. Now that's successful.
Good on him.
You don't have to be rich
absolutely.
you don't have to be rich to be successful. Now, and I think a lot of people forget that. A lot of people sort of lose sight of the fact that the journey is the most important part. And the thing is, because we're on this saddle between the past and the future, the only reality is really now.
Yeah.
The future is not real yet.
Interesting
And
concept,
the past is real, but you can't do anything about it. So, sometimes people use the past to beat themselves over the head with and go, oh my God, I can't believe I was so stupid. I did this, I did that. But that's not useful. You know what I mean? The past, you can't change it. You just got to accept it.
And move on.
But learn from it and move on. But the future you can create. But it's sort of like, where's that balance? Do you live for now? Do you live for the future? You got to get that fine line there.
I think you do need to obviously plan for the future and have that in mind, but not, I guess, work yourself to death and still try and have the right amount of balance between having fun and still working for your future.
Totally. I mean, when I first started thinking about my future, I started investing in property, and I was working 7 days a week and working really hard, and I had all these properties and everything. And I thought to myself, well, what's the point? You know what I mean? Yeah. And luckily then I've worked out a different system where I could, invest and still enjoy myself. And that was worked a lot better, because I really want to enjoy now as much as I can while providing for my future at the same time. Definitely. But not go overboard.
Exactly. You can't go so overboard where you're like living with your parents until, in your late 40s because you're saving money for your future, but it's like you're almost half your life is gone already. So
it is. I mean, time is just goes. The problem is time goes so fast. I mean, no matter what time in the future you think of, before you know it, you're there. That's just the fact of it. So
and it's
really,
like, when will enough money be enough? Like a squirrel putting away all their nuts. When are you going to have enough nuts there where you can finally go, oh, okay, this is enough. I can start my life now and do what I want to do. Or some people get caught in that mindset of thinking, they've never got enough money to be able to start doing what they want to do.
Or they're not ready. A lot of people think they're not ready yet, but you're ready right now. Because I used to think that way all the time. I'm not ready for this, not ready for that, but you're always ready, because there's no perfect time to do anything. There just isn't a perfect time, because there's always something that's not quite right. You just got to make it perfect for yourself. And the thing is, though, I'm not saying be lazy and do nothing either, because the funny thing is it's the things that are hard to do that give you the most reward. That's the strange part about it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that did some studies for people, and people that put effort into something have a lot fonder memories of that than, like even building the studio. I love it because I built it with my bare hands, and it's much better than just buying something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're willing to put the effort and the time in to do that, to get the reward.
That's right. So, I think if you can find your passion and put all your effort in that, the rewards will come, and that's a really good way of spending your time.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's such a fine line on this whole time thing. You know what I mean? It's just weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and I guess probably the best thing to do is to really be clear on your goals, and then you can spend your time working towards that and making sure you're living the best life possible that you want to live.
Yes. So listen to our podcast on goal setting for this, because that's very important, because I believe that to have really clear goals and finding out exactly who you want to be, what you want to be. And I think, me personally, I think being the best version of yourself is the best thing you can do with yourself.
Absolutely.
Because there's only, you've only got one sort of life.
You've only got one life, yeah.
You've only got one life. And I think it's much better being best version of yourself than being a second grade version of someone else. And you really need to know who you are, what you want, and work for it. Because there's nothing wrong with working hard, but it's not about peeling potatoes in the fish and chip shop unless that's who you are. You know what I mean? It's
and unless you really love that and get a lot of pleasure out of it.
But that Mexican guy that goes fishing and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Because I think if you've got the high enough goals and they wake you up early and keep you up late at night and you're really into the zone.
Passionate about it.
Yeah, because being in the zone is pretty amazing. And I don't know if we haven't spoken about the zone before, have we?
No.
So what is the zone? The zone is the zone's a state of mind that you get when you're really good at something and it takes a lot of effort physically, mentally, and every other thing. And when you put in your heart and soul into something and then time just disappears while you're doing the activity, that's called the zone. And a lot of professional athletes get that. And some artists get it, a lot of people. And when you're in the zone, that's a magical place to be.
Is that when time flies, when you're having the fun?
Time sort of flies and stands still at the same time.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
When you're in the zone, time just disappears and you're just at one there.
Right, in the moment.
It's pretty intense and pretty exciting. And those sort of moments are pretty good.
Sounds almost like being at a higher level.
Well, I've gone into the zone several different ways. So one way was from skiing, right?
Okay.
Because what I did is I got a few lessons when I was in Colorado in Steamboat, and I did some really, double diamond skiing, which is pretty hard. And you got to have a lot of confidence and just go down that mountain. And what happened was, after a couple hours practice in the morning, I'd get to that zone where I had to totally focus as much as I could not to kill myself.
Wow.
But when you get down there, when you're going and doing that, you've got no time to think about anything. It's like a meditation. You're in this zone and you feel at one with the world. It's amazing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I get that sometimes through meditation as well.
Yeah,
or
okay.
when I'm creating, when I'm being really creative and using every ounce that I've got to get something done, time flies. And sometimes when I'm doing some creative work on the computer, I'll be stuck there for hours and hours and I don't realise 5 hours has passed.
Yeah.
But I've created something really good and I'm
It's probably one thing that comes to the top of my mind with getting in the zone, and that would be dancing. That's how I would do it.
Totally.
And have fun doing that.
Dancing is amazing.
Because you still have to concentrate to remember your moves and the beat and everything like that. And doing it is just so fun and feeling that sense of freedom, I guess, when you're doing it.
Yep. I totally agree. It's fantastic. So I'd like to, I'm glad we talked about this because I'd like to find more ways of getting into the zone.
Getting in the zone, yeah.
Because the zones, there was a TED talk about it, which is really good, and I'll put it in the show notes, about this guy who examined people's brainwaves and things like that.
Almost like a hack for getting in the zone and what you can do to get in the zone.
Yes, and I think that's an amazing place to be, being in the zone. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, I guess I'd like to find out more about the origins of time and how it came into existence, like the concept of the days of the week. Was that through the Gregorian calendar as well?
Okay, I don't know. I haven't got that answer for you.
Oh, you know everything. I thought you'd know that.
Well, you look at the days of the week. I mean, even the Bible, they've got the days of the week, haven't they, when you think about it? So it's quite old.
And they say that God
created the world in
7 days
or 6 days and had a break.
Had a day off on Sunday.
Had a day off on Sunday.
Sunday's the Lord's Day.
He was in the zone.
So it's interesting how we've come to think of the days of the week as certain things. And I don't know about you, but I get excited on a Friday and look forward to the weekend.
Oh, look, usually on a Friday, I'm like, oh, damn, Friday already. I wish I got more done this week.
I look forward to, I guess, having a bit of a break on the weekend because I'm flat out during the weekdays and usually I'm working until late at night to do everything I need to do.
Look, I don't even realise what day it is a lot of the time.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm the
I must
same.
say, I really don't
It
know.
turns into a blur, but I
turns
know
to a
when
blur.
Friday is because I
Like,
look forward to it.
I was shocked the other night. It was like Saturday, and I was like, "Wow, it's Saturday."
Doesn't
is it?
feel like a Saturday.
Doesn't feel like a Saturday.
That's probably because we're working
I
again.
guess because we don't have a typical job, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Because of that,
When you're an entrepreneur,
when you're an
time is a
entrepreneur,
little bit different.
Time's different because a lot of my friends are going, "Wow, public holiday, can't wait." You know what I mean? Where to me, it's just another day.
Just another
you know what I
work
mean?
day, really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can work, we can not work, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think the entrepreneurial lifestyle, and I think a lot more people are getting into that lifestyle, is pretty exciting.
But everyone hates Mondays as well. So you've got the...
Monday is a funny thing because do you realise that more people will die of a heart attack on a Monday than any other
So
day?
there's a good reason for people to hate Mondays then.
Well, because I guess people that aren't fulfilled or happy in their occupation and they have to go and work on a Monday.
Dread the Monday.
Yeah.
Mondayitis. Is that where the saying Mondayitis came
Probably,
from?
but the thing is, I suppose you look at the way corporations work. It's a hierarchy. It's like
Yeah.
a triangle, like a big pyramid scheme, which what it is anyway, right? Now you got the CEO on the top, and then you got the managers, and you got all the workers at the bottom, right? And funny thing is, society is sort of based on the triangle as well. We've really, since the ancient Egyptians, I suppose, we've always loved triangles, haven't we?
Pyramid, yeah.
Yeah, the old pyramid scheme. And the thing is, what happens is, and this study was done on monkeys. They did a study on baboons, and depends where in the hierarchy. Depends on how long you're going to live and how much stress levels you've got and things like that. So what they found is in baboons, the alpha, the top, the CEO, he lived the longest. He had the highest testosterone, lowest cortisol. And each rank down, there was more stress hormones. And in a job, being on the bottom is more stressful. And as you go up, you got less
stressful.
It might be more stressful, but you got less stress hormones.
Or you've got the ability to handle it better.
Well, the thing is, I suppose, it's a
Because
different.
being like a CEO,
Being
you've
a
still
CEO,
got a lot of
there's
stress
a lot
because you've
more
got to
stress,
manage people.
but you control it though.
Yeah,
but the problem is
that's
on the bottom,
difference.
you got no control. You got the stress, but no control.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why being an entrepreneur is probably healthier for you and better for you. And I'm very fortunate because I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, so I've always been my own boss.
Yeah.
And I've worked a few jobs in the past, but I didn't really like being told what to do. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
And I just didn't work for my personality. I really,
But some people prefer to have a job, and there's nothing wrong with that, obviously.
No, I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but I just found, for me, being an entrepreneur just helped
Because
with my personality.
it is hard being an entrepreneur.
It's not easy, but the work that you do, I suppose, like I said, as long as you love it, it doesn't matter if you've got a job or you're an entrepreneur. Because look at
As long as you enjoy
look
what
at
you
we
do.
did. Look, we went to Monado Zoo. The zookeepers there, they've got a job. They love it.
They're so
love
passionate
And
about
you know
it.
what? That is like they love animals. They love doing what they're doing. That's fantastic.
And they get to spend their time doing what they enjoy every day.
Which is awesome. And I mean, it'd be pretty awesome working some these, rhinos or giraffes. I mean, pretty exciting job. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think the rewards of your work there would be awesome, even if you don't get paid as much, because it'd be just every day would be an exciting day. You'd go to work. You know what I mean? Even
Because
though
I guess monetizing your passion isn't easy.
monetizing your passion is the latest buzzword.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about it, and there's all this stuff on the internet, start your own business, monetize your passion, monetize what you're good at. And I think it's a beautiful thing, it's great, but it's not as easy as what people think it is.
No, it's not easy.
But I think it's worth the rewards. You know what I mean? But whether you're an entrepreneur or you want to work somewhere, you should do what you love. Because at the end of the day, you become what you do every day. So the ends never justify the means. They don't. Because if you do something that is not you for long enough, it's going to become you.
Yeah.
So if you think you can work in a job that you hate for 30 years just so you can retire and do something you love, you're totally mistaken, because you're not going to know how to have fun. You know what I mean? If you don't have fun while you're doing it. Because you become what you do on a daily basis. So because of that...
Or it's a bit like people who they're working really hard in their job and then they can't quit.
They can't. No,
and
they can't.
it's like they've been working their whole life to quit, but when it comes to actually quitting, they just can't bring themselves to do it.
That's right. Which
Emotionally,
no,
they're too caught up.
And the problem is, I mean, most people, when they're retired, they don't live long, they die because there's something missing there, right?
Yeah.
So really, I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head. You don't want to work really hard so you can quit. You want to work hard, something that you love doing, so you don't have to quit. Because I think the whole idea of working 40 years in the same company and then retiring, it's sort of become redundant in our society now.
Absolutely.
It certainly has. And I think the ends don't justify the means, and what you do on a daily basis really makes who you are. So it's very important
because you need to be fulfilled and have a sense of fulfillment, and that's going to make you happy, basically. So
look, I think
if you retire and do nothing, you're not going to be happy because you're not going to feel fulfilled and feel like you're doing anything sort of worthwhile.
Well, you need to do something, don't you? And you're on this earth for a short time, so why not do something you're really passionate about?
But most people are happier when they have a purpose.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head. Brilliant stuff. We're going to give you a high five for that one. Purpose.
So you need to have a purpose that you're spending your time doing to be happy and feel fulfilled.
I think having a purpose is so important. And that's what happened to me. I lost my purpose when I retired. Right?
Yeah.
So what I did is I got sick of the rat race. I retired, and I was lucky because I had quite a few properties and I was making money every week anyway.
So retirement's not all that it's cracked up to be,
it's
apparently.
Not. I had a lot of fun. I travelled, I did a lot of crazy stuff, but I didn't have a purpose. And not having a purpose, it sort of wasn't good.
I guess you sort of feel a bit empty, really.
You do.
Yeah.
But I find in my life what I do is I work hard, then I quit and do nothing for a while, and then I rediscover myself and do it again. So I have those stages anyway. So I've done this a number of times now.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not the first time I retired. I've done it before. But this time I retired with a lot more money, that's all. But I find that I reinvigorate myself and find my purpose again. And that's the most exciting part. When you're building something, you've got a purpose and you've got a really strong will to create something.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I guess it helps your happiness long term, having a great purpose that you're passionate about. Like me, helping people invest and helping people with their health and fitness. That's
if
my
you can,
purpose in life.
I feel that you don't have to do this, but if your purpose includes helping other people and making the world a better place,
Absolutely.
then it's pretty awesome.
It's a win-win for everyone. Well, I guess speaking from my personal experience, I became happier when I had a purpose and I knew what that purpose was. So I guess you got to figure that out as well.
That's right, because you don't want to go to Mars anymore, do you?
No, I don't want to go to Mars anymore.
Yes, that's another podcast anyway,
So,
going to Mars. But
I guess what people could do to figure out their purpose would go back to goals again. And goal setting.
I think the goals and finding out who you are is very important. And what happens with goals, the funny thing is, and I don't want to rehash what we did last time with goals, but what happens is the more times you do it, the better you become at it.
Yeah.
The clearer you are. Because goals, see, a lot of people go, well, because your goals don't stay the same. They change. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Oh, my goals have changed for sure.
What you have certain goals, and as you get closer, you can see a better vision, and therefore you can readjust them.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a good thing because you want to readjust, because sometimes you think, this is a goal, but then you realise, no. You know what I mean?
Really, yeah.
Yeah, because when I was younger, you know what I mean, I had different goals than now. Because what happens is as you mature, because now I'm not materialistic.
Oh, absolutely. I'm the same. Like, I care a lot more now about the planet and the environment and the animals and things like that. Whereas probably 5 years ago, my goals might have been quite materialistic.
And the reason a lot of people have materialistic goals is because we've got television advertising.
We live in a capitalist society.
But we've got television and everything else brainwashing you, going, you want this to be happy, you want this, you want the Versace.
So you think, when I buy this Gucci handbag or whatever, it's going to make me happy. Well, but how long does that happiness actually last for? Isn't it about 6 months, didn't they say? if you've got some materialistic goal.
Okay, they did a study, and actually it wasn't about materialistic goals. What happened was they did a very interesting study where they looked at the difference between winning the lottery and becoming a paraplegic.
Okay.
Right?
Two very diverse outcomes.
Now, what would you be happier doing? Winning the lottery or becoming
Obviously
paraplegic?
winning the lottery.
That's what we say.
It's a bit of a no-brainer.
Okay, this is what they discovered. They discovered after 12 months, the level of happiness was the same for the paraplegic and the person that won the lottery.
That's amazing.
Seriously, that's amazing. There was one
How?
guy.
How's that possible? Yeah.
Because everyone's got a baseline happiness.
Right.
And your baseline happiness is what it is. And you create whatever you have to create. If you're positive enough, and that'd be a horrible thing to do, becoming a paraplegic, but if you're positive enough, you'd find a way of living your life through that. And if you're not happy enough, winning millions of dollars and spending it on cars ain't going to make you happy.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. So that's the thing. So what they discovered is, which was, I was amazed about that. It was Dan Gilbert, Stumbling Upon Happiness. Great book. I'll put it in the show note. I love that book. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And what they found is being happy, and I know a lot of times we go back to this in our podcast because I think it's important, is that spending money on experiences and other people is the key to happiness.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love doing. I love spending money on other people.
Spending your time
and money on other people.
Spending your money for an experience rather than something materialistic.
And I love doing that. The other night I actually got on the internet and I bought you a present. I bought my friend Belinda and Carl a present, and I bought Brad a present. I bought a few people a present all night. And
so
you know
I'd
what?
rather spend my time doing something fun I enjoy and having that experience to look back on and remember.
So I bought everyone
because
experience.
You've got that for the rest of your life.
Well, that's what I did. I bought people experiences.
Yeah.
And I had so much pleasure doing it. You know what I mean? And the thing is, it's in the future because I'm taking you to the ballet.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That's going to be a while, and now we can enjoy the moment of thinking about the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
and you got something to look forward to, I guess, booked in the diary as well.
Yeah, in this book on happiness, what they discovered was if you book a holiday or an experience in the future a lot earlier, then you actually get to enjoy the going towards it as well.
Because you're looking forward to
That's
it.
right.
And you've got the excitement building up, looking forward to something.
That's right. So time is a funny thing that way. And what they discovered also, if you go on a holiday, the last day of your holiday, if you do something really good, it makes your whole holiday...
Then you look back and remember the whole holiday
excellent.
As being awesome.
But if the last day's shit, then it's going to wreck the holiday for you.
Okay.
They did that with pain as well. And if you're going through something through pain, if at the end the pain's less, it diminishes all the other pain as well. Mm-hmm. So it's funny how time and perception changes things. So I'm really going to put a lot more effort into booking things in the future so I can enjoy the whole future.
I love looking forward to things. Sometimes I almost get more pleasure out of looking forward to an event than actually being at the event. Like looking forward to a Christmas party or something like that. Like I look forward to it and then I get there and I'm like, well, I almost had more fun sort of with the anticipation of the event.
I totally agree. I agree. And I think filling your future with good things is an amazing way to spend your time.
And having something to look forward to.
Because that creates your time a lot better. And time goes faster when you're waiting for something good, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's funny how as a kid, your time just doesn't go fast enough. Because you're like, oh, Christmas, can't wait for Christmas. When's it going to come?
Yeah,
and as
I remember
you get older,
looking forward to Christmas.
It's different, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting.
It's fascinating. So time is a perception thing. And when you're not happy or when you're bored, time can go really slow. And when you're excited and happy, it can go really fast. And you know what I mean? It's crazy how time's one of those things that you can't just grab a hold of, you know?
Yeah.
So, what would you say in summary?
Basically, spend your time doing what you love. Try to spend more time doing what you love.
I mean, I
know
understand,
it's not easy because
I understand not everyone's got the ability yet, but it's a matter of
and you need to
it.
get the right balance between, I guess, trading your time for money. And think about time and just remember that it's the most valuable resource we have in the world.
It certainly is. I mean,
And once it's gone, you can't get it back.
yeah,
It's gone
and
forever.
We've taken nearly 1 hour of your time, and I hope you got some value out of it.
So thank you so much for sharing your time with us and
Thank you.
spending your time with us.
We really appreciate it, because that's probably the most precious thing you can do. And what we want to do with this podcast is give people as much value as we can.
Absolutely.
If not, a bit of entertainment. You're the entertaining one, not me. I'm boring, I know. But anyway, we look forward to seeing you next podcast.
So we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, guys.
Cool. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.
For everyone listening, thank you once again. Stay well, and see you next episode.
For awesome info and trending content, go to georgemarkoski.com.